Have you ever felt like your dog has more patience with your kids than you do? And wondered if there's something bigger in that bond worth exploring? You are not alone, and that is exactly what we're diving into on today's episode of Tales and Tones. But before we dig in, one quick note. I want to give a massive thank you for everyone the past couple of weeks or months. We actually announced that we have our very first Tails and Tones product, LV, and that we needed 150 people to actually sign up to that waitlist. And thank you so much for each and every one of you. As of today's date, we have become very closer to that number. So there is still some slots available if you want to join. Go to the link in our Instagram bio or in the show notes. And honestly, thank you so much for everyone. Like literally, being an entrepreneur in this space and having people believe in you and your idea before they have a physical product in hand. Honestly, I cannot even begin to express my gratitude. So thank you so much. Alrighty, let's dig in. Hi there, and welcome to today's episode of Tales and Tones. I'm your host, Mariska Nell, also known as Piper's mom. So our guest today is the founder of Pup O'Clock. It's a not-profit helping families turn everyday dog ownership into some real connection, confidence, and growth for their kids. His mission is to reach 1 million families, and we are so happy to have him here. Please give a awesome welcome to today's guest, Brian Manni. Welcome to the podcast, Brian.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are most welcome. So, Brian, for our listeners who might not be aware of your work, and I'm like looking at your t-shirt with your company's name on, could you introduce yourself to us?
Absolutely. My name is Brian Manni, and I wanted to say I am not the expert by any means as it relates to dogs. So I'm not a vet, I'm not a trainer, I'm not an enrichment specialist, but I did notice post-COVID that everyone was getting dogs during COVID, and then everyone was getting rid of them. And I thought, you know what, that's kind of the same tale as old as time, where a kid would love a dog, the shine would wear off after 2 weeks, and the parents ended up taking care of the dog. I remember my sister begging my parents and then writing this, what we have now, responsibility contract, and hanging it on the refrigerator. I promise to do this, do that, do whatever. And what it came down to is there's no good tools for particularly kids to help them engage with the dog on a long-term basis to eventually realize all the value that that brings to the table. So really, COVID opened my eyes to that there was just a missing lane there. And then in addition to that, the e-commerce business was booming. So you have a ton of great toy and treat boxes out there. So I just found my own lane by saying, listen, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to combine entertainment, enrichment, and education, and put that together and use that as a monthly theme subscription box to not only keep the kids engaged with the dog. Everyone loves a package coming every month, but the great content involved, in addition to it being wildly entertaining, and then connecting with shelters and donating back with each box. So that was kind of the genesis of it, in addition to, and that kind of ran parallel to my personal journey of sobriety. I'm in recovery. So being able to create something to give kids the ability to adopt responsibility, particularly in that space with dogs, is great, but it also will create a better human down the road, just with that consistency, discipline, and things of that nature. So that's kind of how we landed with Pup O'Clock, and it's a monthly themed subscription box at this point.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing that. That is really, something that I feel is so needed. And we are very much guilty of having a COVID pup baby. Even though we rescued her, Piper was born in 2020. And so it's like really interesting you mentioned that, because that was the time so many people were like, wow, now we've got time for a puppy. And then it just comes with all of those challenges. But Brian, can you kind of take us back to what was that like, almost like specific moment that you felt happened between, family dog and, even with your son? Was there anything that you felt like you could see, wow, this is some responsibilities are being nurtured there. What was that specific moment?
Well, there was my son grew up with a pug, so he had a pug for 17. Well, the pug lasted that long, but my son's only 13, 14 years old. But in retrospect, just seeing him develop a relationship with that dog and seeing him being sustained through any kind of trials or tribulations, any kind of bullying, any kind of family issues, things of that nature, that was his buddy. But there were still no tools at that point. You would look at our dog and he would be basically bored, is what we found out, because there was no enrichment. There were no,
Mm.
we didn't know to give him like a busy box or anything like that. So there's definitely things that I reflected on that were super positive. We're like, wow, this dog is really helping my son as he kind of navigated his childhood. But also there weren't those tools. And the dog ended up eating shoes and eating whatever else and misbehaving. But that wasn't the dog's fault. It was our lack of understanding and lack of a tool to be able to engage and educate yourself to learn how to kind of tackle that relationship. So that was definitely something that I reflected on in terms of creating this. Again, it was a combination of a ton of different things. A lot of it was just seeing a lot of my friends in the shelter space and the breeder space, just seeing returned dogs after a short period of time. So it was just, again, a combination of my experiences with my son, my co-founder, who actually is now our mascot. So we bought a mascot and he's proudly wearing that around to different events and things of that nature. So he's super into it. And he has been definitely held me accountable, not only in my sobriety journey, but also reminding me of the importance of this engagement tool. So he's been a super great positive reinforcement.
And I think, it is one of those things where you almost need to, like, see this happen in real life to really fully understand or comprehend what impact this can have on not just your family, but now, you are providing these boxes for a lot more families. And what kind of, or when did you almost cross this line from, this is amazing for our family, but what if this is actually something that more people can use so that we keep those dogs out of the shelter? Like, was there something that kind of led up onto that, or how did you decide, this needs to be a monthly box and this
Yeah,
is what we're going to
just
do?
I'll be honest, really just the market research and talking to the experts. Again, I'm not. So I thought, wow, this would be great, but I had no idea. So as I was kind of hiring our team, and our vet Dr. Daisy writes all of our veterinarian content, and then we have a wonderful enrichment expert in Torri Mistick. She writes those activities. And so in speaking with them, their constituents, and then just talking to shelters across the country, there was an overwhelming, great response to this, I think. And that's really where it came from, is just everyone that I spoke to felt that there was a real need for this. And so I
Yeah.
just doubled down on that and was open-minded, took all of the advice from the experts to kind of put it together and piece that together to be able to, and again, it's evolving on a daily basis right now. So again, still super open-minded, but putting those pieces together, whether it's the educational pieces and entertainment pieces or enrichment pieces, wrapping those cohesively into themed boxes to maintain the attention of the kids as well, was key. And I just thought I was awful in school. And so I always thought that entertainment was a great tool to educate, especially practically. I mean, you can use this idea for fiscal responsibility for kids. You just attach characters to it, make it fun and entertaining, and get some great content. And then just by osmosis, as I go through that journey, they'll hopefully be that common sense 101 dog owner and better human being too.
Yeah, definitely. And if some of our listeners were probably like, heard you mention Torri Mistick, and maybe there might have been some light bulb moments going off. Yes, it is the same Torri that has been on 2 of our prior episodes. So I'll link that up in the show notes as well. And she is amazing when it comes to enrichment. And, it is really like this box which you've done with Pup O'Clock. So, I mean, you've got the children that is actually gaining, so much knowledge of how to care for this dog, because even as well, I'm not a parent, but I've got a nephew that absolutely loves his dogs. And I feel sometimes there is this bit of a struggle between, my sister has to manage him, manage the dogs, obviously put the dog's priority as well, sometimes ahead of his, because they can't fend for themselves. So you need to make sure that whether this is a 2-year-old kid or 4-year-old kid, they know how to, you know, be around the dogs. And I think those education is important, but also the enrichment, because it's like you said, a lot of those dogs go back to the shelter because they are, and I'm putting it in air quotes, naughty dogs, and they are seen,
Right.
they are bad dogs, but we if we don't provide them with the necessary enrichment activities, we can actually tire out dogs with mental stimulation. You also don't have to go run, a marathon with them to tire them out before you go to work. So I think it's so many aspects that I feel brings this, like this box brings these together. So when you look at your box, so it's, I don't know, the end of the month, the new beginning of the month, or whenever people get their boxes, what are they going to get? So the box
Yeah.
arrive, and yeah.
So everyone starts with our flagship box. So that kind of sets the table for responsible puppy ownership. And I'll tell you what that includes. First of all, it includes the centerpiece of all of our boxes, which are trading cards. And that's one of the entertainment aspects. So we have trading cards of Torri Mistick, Dr. Daisy, and then our main character, Pup O'Clock. And so we wanted to build out kind of a Pokemon effect. That's one hook to get the kids running to the door each month. And so each month is a different dog, a different superhero kind of dog, and they're all real dogs. It's important to point out, with the exception of our main character. He was created. So you have your trading cards, and then you have a vet guide, so a bifold with veterinary information, an enrichment bifold with an enrichment activity, like Dog Detective is our enrichment activity in our flagship box. And then you have a pup guide, which is kind of like a comic book introducing the new character into what we call the League of Pups, which will eventually be our animated series of shelter dogs. In addition to that, we partner with Soda Pup. So to the enrichment point, they have a tremendous amount of treat dispensers, lick mats, things of that nature. And it's very simple. I mean, just to those slow feeding bowls or lick mats, they'll be able to keep your dog at bay while you have company over on holidays and things of that nature. So it's really important, easy stuff to keep your dog busy. Bandanas every month, stickers, and the first box has a responsibility contract in it. It's kind of the empowering you, saying, I'm going to take care of my dog, et cetera, et cetera. It's something that you sign. There's a gotcha certificate in there.
Okay.
Uh, and also what people love more than anything is this chore chart. So it's a chore chart with a marker that you hang on the refrigerator to really hold yourself accountable. Did you take the dog out? How many times? Feeding the dog, things of that nature. So there's a ton of good stuff in that box to set you up. And then your subsequent boxes are themed. And again, the reason why it's a subscription model is because there needs to be consistency and discipline. And there's so many different ways to go about it and to keep your kids interested in it. They're all different. They're all themed and they're all mission driven. So for example, after the flagship box, depending on where you are and what month it is, let's say it's August. So we have a back to school box that teaches crate training, separation anxiety, what to do with your dog before school, after school, reading to your dog. So there's all those good educational materials in there, again, with the trading card. But we also have recipes and different types of activities that the entire family can participate in to foster that relationship better as well. So the flagship box is definitely unique and different from the theme boxes, but all the theme boxes are different. So you're never going to get bored. And again, I mentioned mission driven. We did in September Deaf Awareness Month. We did Senior Dog Adoption Month in November, Autism Awareness in April. So there's a lot of, in addition to those fun themes, like Halloween, we tied that with Pit Bull Awareness Month. Pit bulls are quote unquote scary. So is Halloween. Not really if you have the right tools to execute on that. So it's just a fun adventure month to month, and they're all pretty much the same things in each box from a theme perspective, but they're also very different as well.
So that's definitely something to look out for every single month. And I mean, when it comes to the dogs as well, so like one of the questions that I had is kind of what does the dogs get out of this? But I mean, when we had one of our previous guests, Jennifer Holland, on episode 23, so she's the author of Dog Smart, and we learned that dogs are super, super smart and that they need all of these little things. We can't just like keep them in the house and not do anything. So, what would you say has been some of those things that people maybe say, oh, my dog got this out of it, or, they enjoying this so much, or this activity is like their favorite or something? Has there been some of those comments coming through?
There's no doubt. And I think the overarching point is that it's the pendulum swung so far to kids being on their phone and not engaging with the dog. And that's an issue in and of itself. So the monthly theme box is physical objects that you have, items that you have in there, from Soda Pup or the obstacle course to that point that you can make outside in your backyard, or scavenger hunt for the family to go on during Thanksgiving and take your dog on there. You can actually apply those different skills there. Getting off the phones, getting outside and building that relationship with your dog is first and foremost just something that I think has gotten lost. And then you layer on there, as I mentioned, all those cool activities that Torri and Daisy come up with, like the obstacle courses, like the scavenger hunts and things of that nature, are just super cool. So it's been awesome. I can name 1,000 of those different activities, but those are really cool. And the recipes are really a hit too.
That is so cool. And I mean, Brian, you kind of mentioned previously like this partnership and a pet partnership. Like, what does that actually look like in a real living room on a, I don't know, Tuesday evening? Like, kind of, what does that mean, that pet partnership?
Just from a day-to-day perspective,
Yeah.
we just reinforce that in each of our boxes. And again, that's why they're monthly. It's goes back to just the blocking and tackling and the chore chart and holding yourself accountable to, I mean, you're at the end of the day, you're taking care of a living, breathing animal. So you put yourself in a position. What's really cool about this, about the whole adopting responsibility of this in this space in particular, is that you're taking care of something, again, alive, something you're engaged in, something that's bigger than yourself. All of a sudden, you're not the center of the universe anymore. And there's a lot of humility and there's a lot of introspection, which goes on that I don't even think people realize when they're doing this on a consistent day-to-day basis, which is great. So
What's
no,
the
it's
one
okay.
skill a child needs to develop before a dog will actually respond to them? And how do you teach that?
Well, that's a great question. And I would defer to experts. Again, I'm not the expert in that dog training space or anything of that nature. I would just say that the skill set that is developed as a result of the boxes, again, is that discipline and consistency that is needed, because you can't just halfway it. The dog won't respond. So you need to be able to maintain that engagement over a certain period of time. And then it becomes fun and it becomes second nature. And then the dog evolves too. I mean, you're helping that dog out become a better part of your family, and
Yeah.
everyone's happier. So it's kind of starts with you as the kid accepting the responsibility to go on this journey. And then it inevitably helps your family life with your parents. Your parents see you adopt that responsibility. Your dog's happier. There's less chaos, less messes. And then it builds out into the community as well. So it's better for the community. And then the kids will look at this whole space a little bit differently, hopefully, and they'll want to be more like Tori, more like Dr. Daisy, and they'll be itching to go to the vet and to go to the dog trainer and to participate more so than they would have in the past. And so my hope is that this is kind of just an early intervention tool that will help and spread and be helpful to all the other avenues where people are trying to achieve certain goals in dog responsibility.
I think that's so important. And I feel, for me, what this box does is it also kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out because, being like, first of all, like a parent, and obviously I don't have children. We only have one very spoiled French bulldog. But,
Okay.
coming, from obviously a lot of my friends that have kids and have dogs, and some days it just seems like it might be a bit of a struggle to continuously think about new things to do and new activities to do with your dog. And your dog evolves, they get smart. So if you give them the same licky mat every single week,
Right.
they
Right.
get bored. It's like us, at some point you're like, oh my gosh, can we really do something else? Or is this the same
Right.
thing? So I think that really kind of makes life easier because now you've got variety without you having to do the work.
Exactly. And there's so much out there, as you know, on anything on the internet. So it's tough to try to synthesize that information. But to your point, that's exactly right. I like putting just practical things in each of the boxes, like the pit bull and Halloween box, socialization, how to take your dog, socialize it so that you can take them on trick or treat or what have you. Or even the different holidays where you have company over so the dog's not jumping over everyone. You'll at least learn those specific practical things to take forward with you in life. Like, for example, the lick mat or the slow feeder bowl or whatever it might be to keep the dog at bay, or a busy box, or whatever the activity might be, because those are themed, it's really practical application on a monthly basis, which is super cool. Even if they get
Yeah.
just one thing out of it. And even like just the characters in it of themselves, which is super cool, are a part of that theme. So the back to school box, we had a border collie, kind of a herding dog, a smart dog. So
Mhm.
they'll learn about the breeds as they go about the themes and those different practical applications as well. So it's super cool. There's a ton to learn.
So when it comes to the dogs, like, how do we get a French bulldog to audition to become the French bulldog of Pup O'Clock?
Yeah, well, that's easy. We can put that in queue for sure. Um,
Oh, because I also
there's no
feel
doubt.
it is so important, like, when you look at these different dog breeds to actually understand, what are they about? And obviously
That's
with the
exactly
French
right.
Bulldog, I had no idea until maybe a couple of weeks ago that French Bulldogs actually find it hard to communicate with other dogs because, a lot of the times they are bred like so terrible. A lot of them actually have, teeth sticking out all the time. So for other dogs, that is signaling like, hey, you're angry with me. And then, when some of the other French bulldogs who their teeth are so far behind they can't show any teeth, when they want to show teeth, they cannot. So now the dogs are like, what are you saying? Like, I cannot understand. So I feel, being able to learn these little things because the next time you are walking with your dog and there's a French bulldog approaching, oh my goodness, she can't signal this. So we need to, as a like adult and as this person's like, guardian, we need to be
Yeah.
able to be that voice. So I think it's so important to bring in these different breeds because each breed is so different. Having a pit bull and having a
So
French
different.
bulldog, So yeah, so there's definitely a lot we can learn from this little
But
French bulldog.
and on the back of our yeah, for sure, and on the back of our trading cards, there's different power bars because we're gonna turn this into a video game, but
Ooh.
also for the kids to learn, what kind of, intelligence level is there, how fast these dogs are, boxers in the sports box. So, if they can
Wow.
just associate these different things with those different breeds, to your point,
Mm.
they'll be able to learn enough to be dangerous. Learn enough to know, like, oh, that there's a pit bull, there's a golden retriever. It's a nice family dog. It's in our Thanksgiving box, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
that's
that's a good point.
exactly. That's so cool. And Brian, I don't know how you've done it, but you've kind of built this as like a nonprofit. And, like kind of talk us about that. Obviously, there was presumably a version where you thought, okay, well, let's do this as like a type of making as much money as possible, but you went the route to give as much as possible. So talk us about
Sh-
that.
Sure. Well, we certainly have a nonprofit if people want to go that route in terms of a donation. But every box we built into the margins a donation back to shelters or trainers or vets or anyone really that has a passion for the human dog bond. So with every purchase, people know that not only are they getting a grading tool, but they're also giving back to someone, shelter or a business that will help in some way or some form. So that's been super great as well. So it's a win-win-win for everyone, I think, from what I can tell so far. So and like money doesn't solve, a lot of the problems. A lot of shelters have a ton of money coming in, a
Mm,
ton of endowment or whatever it might be. So that's why I look at this as more of a movement and more of like, hey, we need some behavioral change in addition to all that. It's not just going to be donating money
mm.
to shelters or to organizations. You actually need the tools to change behavior. And then if you can mesh both of those things together, I think you have a win.
And for anyone who has been following our Instagram the last couple of weeks or months, so I've actually been part of Help Bank, which is part of like Simon Squibb. I don't know if you're familiar with him. So he's from the UK and he is the guy that always says, "What is your dream? Do you have a dream?" And I want to talk about your dream today here. And that is you have a dream of actually reaching 1 million families. Can you share more about that? And how can we actually help you today to get closer to that number?
Yeah, I mean, we want to help as many as possible, and it's been just a process. Like I said, this evolves all the time. We're looking to pivot to different things all the time, and most recently, as we talked about, we just got this mascot. So we want to go around the country and be an extension of the shelters. So we want Pup the Yellow Dog to be synonymous to families, engagement, adopting responsibility in that space. So my hope is that it kind of turns into like Clifford the Red Dog, Pup the Yellow Dog. The kind of the dream of this is to be a full blown entertainment company, mixing kind of I don't know if I can say these companies or not, but BarkBox and Bluey and Pokemon and Mario Brothers kind of all wrapped into one, but for the purpose of being a better dog owner, being a better human. So that's we're always looking for ideas and constituents, collaborations to achieve that. But again, I really believe in entertainment being really key in terms of practical learning. So we'll see how Pup the mascot does, and see how he makes out with those shelters.
Through all of this journey where you also get to speak to a lot of the people, do you find that there might be some of the things that you feel people, after they've used your boxes, and is there certain things that they felt, people or kids might have believed, this is how dogs are, and then this has kind of proved them wrong, like how they actually do stuff? Has there been some things like that?
That's a great question. I would say since we've incorporated enrichment, has that's been kind of the big pivot. I think they thought their dogs were just bored, or they get a dog and it's just, oh yeah, we'll make our family better with the dog, and what have you. And then the dog's angry, perceived as angry, or what have you. They're just really bored and they need to get outside. Depending on the breed, they need to get outside of the house more, or they need to not be outside as long. And there's activities for indoors. And so it's really stimulation is what I would say, and brain stimulation for the dog, and getting away from them being bored and chewing up things that they shouldn't, getting into things that they shouldn't. And then that spirals the whole family out of control. So that, I guess, enrichment would be the big that tied the loop for us in terms of our product. And we didn't have that initially. And so Tori's been a blessing from that perspective.
Yeah. Oh, she's just the best. Absolutely. So much love for her. And Brian,
She's
like,
so much better at these things than I am too. So listen
oh,
to her on the podcast, not me.
yeah, I'll link up our enrichment episode because that was such a good one. And she also did an entire series on that, because for some of our listeners that is actually listening, your boxes is only available currently in the US and only in 48 states, I believe, or is it all the states?
Every state. Yep.
Every
It's
state.
all, yep, just in the US for right now.
Okay. So
So we
yeah.
have monthly boxes. You can cancel at any time. We have a discount if you purchase a 6-month plan, and a discount if you purchase a 12-month plan. And you're more than likely to find a discount code or promo code out there through your local shelters. So that will give you a 10% monthly discount. And we're always running different kind of holiday discounts as well.
Awesome. And if you are looking for a discount code, Piper has also got her own personalized discount code. So I'm going to link it in our show notes as well, but it's basically just Piper 10, and you can check it out there. So thank you so much, Brian, for giving all of our listeners that wants to order that discount. So that is amazing. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Piper.
And is there anything you feel like kind of, this journey has actually teach you? Because you've been kind of, on this journey for some time beyond, just what the dogs have given back.
There's no doubt this journey has been incredible, tied to my sobriety journey. I feel like I'm overloaded with personal growth at the time.
Wow.
But it's been tremendous, and it's really been great to build the relationship with my son as well. Him and I working on this together all the time. I couldn't ask for anything better from that perspective. So I've learned responsibility and being accountable. And that's the name of the game for this. I think it's much needed. I don't think there are many tools out there. And what a great way, as I mentioned, than to teach that discipline and consistency around dog ownership.
Where can our Tails and Tones community find you?
Best place to check us out is on Instagram at Pup O'Clock _ and our website, pupoclock.com. And again, we're still in our infancy stages. We haven't been around that long, so we're going to be building out the rest of the social media platforms and all the things and all kinds of different other ways to enhance the program. So hopefully we can be back on over time and talk about how we've evolved and all
Sounds
the and all
great.
the
Maybe launch
nuances.
Piper as the, French builder.
Absolutely. We will have a Piper box party for sure. Yes.
Awesome. Love that. Well, Brian, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I do as well.
You're most welcome. Is there anything you felt we left out? Anything else you still wanted to mention?
No, I mean, so much to come in the future. Like I said, we're working on our animated series, The League of Pups. And that's a shelter dog animated series we're working on an app as well. When I first started this, I was thinking, God, what a big market. I can see this, being a theme park kind of roller coaster, right? And then reverse engineer it from there. And we're starting with subscription boxes. So there's so much to come, and it's hopefully going to produce a lot of good.
And that, my friends, is a wrap for today's episode. And what an episode it was. Thank you so much, Brian, for being on the podcast and for, just being such an amazing guest. And this has reminded us, that this relationship between Children and their dogs is so much more than just cute moments and tail wags. It's really empathy in action. It is confidence being built in real time. And it's also a reminder that sometimes those most powerful breakthroughs happen right there on the living room floor with a dog who just gets it. So, whether you do have kids or not, I hope that today's conversation made you kind of look at your own dog a little bit differently because that bond, it is worth investing. And if today's episode spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with a fellow pet parent who might need to hear this today. The more this podcast gets shared and listened to, the faster we grow and the more incredible guests and conversations we get to bring to you. So if you found this valuable today, please pass it on. It truly means the world and makes such a big difference. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Tails and Tones. If you've got any questions or just want to come and say hi, you can find me on our Instagram at Tails and Tones, where every tale tells a story and every tone speaks from the heart. See you in the next one.